everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation, along with
CJ Lou from the Fired Up with CJ show.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
If you've ever wanted to be guided by the universe, then do we have the show for you. Today we'll be talking about feeling the tug, getting in flow, and letting that small, still voice guide you toward your dreams. That plus we'll talk about beautiful Baltimore, diversity delight, primitive walking, walking miracles, bears surprises, golden threads, symphony synchronicities, universal meditations, the power of the achuar, and why in the world being late just might be the greatest gift in the world. So
Ooh.
welcome back to the show, CJ. Are you ready to
I am
shine?
ready to shine.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
And now that the microphone is working, how was beautiful Baltimore and letting go of your son?
You know what? It was first of all Baltimore, which of recent has gotten really bad press by our dear president. Is a great city. We found and discovered because we went to visit Johns Hopkins where my son goes to school just quickly. And you didn't really get to explore the city, but we went to Fells Point, which is this cool historic area, and um, Remington,
Yep.
and we were living in the Inner Harbor, and and then we were driving to like, I don't know how many different stores. So we drove to the Target in Townsend, and we drove to the Bed Bath and Beyond, and picking up all the school supplies. Because when you move from the West Coast, you can't like it costs way too much to ship everything, so you just buy everything on the East Coast and then you bring it over. So we explored all these different parts of Baltimore. There's just beautiful parts of the city, just golf courses, beautiful homes. It was just really quite delightful. And I know that there are other parts of Baltimore that aren't so picturesque, but it's too bad that Baltimore gets kind of a rough rap. So yeah, so that part was kind of fun,
Yeah.
and and it was hard leaving my son, but it was he's ready. He's ready to go, you know? Like it's the very best thing for him to move on to the next stage in his life. So he's ready to go. And so, I was ready to let go because this is the very best thing for him. Um, I think for my first son, I knew that those two things were true, but that it was the very best thing for him, but I wasn't really ready to let go.
Yeah.
And so this time, I cried when I left him, and I just miss his presence. So, like, 2 nights ago, I woke up. Like, just like, where's my son? And I looked around. I'm like, oh my God, he's not here. And then, had nightmares. Just kind of like, where is he? Where? Those kinds of
Yeah.
things. Um, but when my first son left, I just felt like it's like someone came in with a torch gun and like gutted, or like a knife and gutted out my entire insides. And it just
Wow.
felt completely, utterly empty. This time, I think because I don't feel empty, like there's lots of possible, I'm going on this hike. I don't know what things are going to appear, but I know that they will appear.
Mm.
And if nothing doesn't appear, I'm also okay with that. So I think I've gone through the being fearful of the emptiness and just being empty and okay with being empty because I know that I've had 2 years of feeling a partial emptiness and I was okay. So a lot of the fear factor was missing out of it. Still, I miss him tremendously, but I also would rather him be out exploring and finding himself because I know with my eldest son, he came back a different person freshman year, and he just came back sophomore year, and he's a different person. They grow
Yeah.
so quickly when they're away, and it's like you come back and you get a Christmas present because your kid is no longer the same person, and they come back with all the things that you kind of hoped and dreamed would happen have happened, and they're independent and they're strong and you know, they're full of ideas. I mean, it was so I just know that it's all going to be a good thing. But it was sad. It was very sad, and I do wake up somewhat panicked sometimes, to be honest.
It sounds like though on some level, because it's been coming for so long. I mean, obviously you've known about it all 18 years, but in this sense, it's really been a 2 year journey.
Yeah.
Maybe there's almost, in a strange way, a sense of relief.
I don't really feel a sense of relief, but a sense of completion. I felt I would say it's been a 4 year journey because I'm like a
Yeah.
heavy duty planner. So I've been thinking about them emptying the nest for the last 4 years and planning so that I wouldn't feel empty right now, so that I would feel a sense of hope and excitement of possibilities or wonderment of what will occur if there's no possibilities that will fill me when I come back. I mean, I'm open to either. And so, I think that that's probably the main difference.
And I bet in your 4 year plan, you never planned on doing a Camino walk coming up in just a few short weeks.
I did plan on that. I thought when Kaden
For how
leaves,
long?
I talked to someone, I interviewed someone on the Camino, and he said it was transformational. And I thought when my youngest son leaves for college, I am going to walk the Camino, and that's been my vision for ever since I interviewed him, probably like 7 years ago. I
Oh,
thought,
wow.
yeah, so I kind of knew this is the thing. Like this is it sounds like a grand adventure. It doesn't sound like something I can do now, but when he leaves, it seems kind of like the perfect time to go. So I've been thinking about this trip for a really long time.
We may need to crank up the spontaneity with you, CJ.
Maybe it's because I'm intuitive. I don't know. Like I just knew that this was something that I wanted to do. I'm very goal oriented, I guess, Michael.
All right, so that leads us into you had a broken husband a while ago. You're going on this trip in just a few short weeks. What are walking miracles?
Okay, so I took a week off. We had talked about like let's take a week off, and so I hadn't walked for about a week. And I thought, okay, like my feet should be better. And they hurt throughout the whole time, despite like massaging this type of oil and this type of massage and like all these massages I had before, they were still hurting. And like then I started to feel like plantar fasciitis kind of come along. And then I was like, oh my gosh, it's getting worse. Like I don't, it's not getting any better over the week. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to, but I've taken a week off. It's gotten a little bit better. I'm going to walk on Monday, and I walked around. I did like a 5 mile walk or three, like maybe even less than like 4 mile walk, and it just hurt. And I was like despondent. I didn't know what to do. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this walk. Honestly, I just don't know how I'm going to do. I just completely broke down. And then I had an appointment that I made a long time ago with an osteopath, Carl Youngston.
Yeah.
And I've never gone to an osteopath. They're kind of like holistic doctors. They do vitamins and they do muscle testing. And there's this 82-year-old man. People fly from all over the country to see this man. Do you know who he is? Or were you about to go? What were you going to say?
No, no. This gentleman's name again?
Carl,
Carl Youngston, did you
or
say?
something. Yeah, something like that.
No, I haven't heard of him yet.
Okay. So um, he's just like an individual practitioner, but he's very popular because he creates miracles. So I went there and I had this whole thing mapped out. I had all the different shoes and the insoles and like my backpack, and I was like, I don't know what to do. And I had like I actually drew on pen the parts of my feet that hurt so I could show
Yep.
him because I wanted to do that long walk in the morning so I could see what would break. Still was breaking after a healing session. And I get there, and he has me lying down on the table, and he has my arm up, and he's muscle testing. And he has
Yep.
this machine that he uses to ground his energy, and then he muscle tests me. And he's like, okay, what's the story with this Fitbit? And I said, what? And he said, yeah, take it off. And put the Fitbit on, and he put the Fitbit on, and he touched my heart,
I
and
get it.
my arm went down.
I've got to give a little backstory here, which is we had an amazing doctor, Dr. David Berglund,
Hmm.
who is a kinesiologist, does this same thing coming from a different direction. And he was visiting here 2 weekends ago,
Hmm.
and he spent 5 days working on Jessica and I with these exact techniques, trying every different thing out. In fact, he has over here, let's see if I can show it to you. It's the only one, perhaps still in existence, a electric block, which I'm supposed to be zapping myself with. I don't do it during the show, which you use electrodes like this one right here, and you go to your scar tissue, if you've had surgery, it turns out surgery cuts through your meridians
Right.
and your scars. So he was putting his hands on my scars and doing these muscle tests, and they're going plunk. And
Yeah.
and then
Wow.
and then he would connect the circuit of my scars, so to speak, with his hand, and all of a sudden, boom, it would stay strong. So I was going through the same thing. We're on
Wow,
such a similar
Michael.
path.
That's so weird. What's the likelihood? That's so weird.
I mean, I've literally got the tool right here.
This guy was doing hand muscle testing, and he had
Yeah,
this
yeah.
like,
You put out your arm, and he
yeah,
even put you in different footwear or something. He put something under Jessica's toe, and her arm is weak. Then she puts something under her toe for what's called Morton's neuroma for the second
that's
toe.
exactly what I.
Well, I was thinking about that for you and was going to mention that today. So,
Oh my God, it's like we're living parallel lives. So I went and so he basically, for me, and I love my Fitbit. So it was really with a great amount of heartache and disbelief that I thought, what, you want me to take my Fitbit off? And he muscle tested my Fitbit and he took my heart and it like, my heart was weak. And he went through and tested me without the Fitbit. He's like, you're good, you're healthy without the Fitbit. And then I said, and he touched my head and he's like, brain functions, yes. And I was like, well, I just had a concussion, a mild concussion. Now that was 8 weeks ago. So I thought, well, maybe it's fine. And I said, but I still had headaches. Like when I was running around in Baltimore, I was getting headaches. And he said, put your Fitbit on. And then he touched the exact spot of where I had the concussion and my arm went down. Somehow, I have no idea. The Fitbit was making my concussion worse. It was making my foot. He actually, I said, here's the pain in my foot. He touched the pain in my foot with my Fitbit on, and my arm went down. And so somehow, for me, because I love the Fitbit, but for me, because I'm very energetically sensitive, I can't wear the Fitbit because it just does, it set those electronic pulses that go through your body. The EMFs are not
yeah,
good for me. And like if I could actually, I have it attached to my backpack. So I can still have a pedometer, but I
yeah,
can't sleep with it or anything like that. So he took it off and he explained to me what happens is when you have EMF, your body's like also like trying to balance. It's trying to balance the alkaloids. So I don't know if that's the right word. And so what it's doing to balance and to balance the EMFs, it's like taking minerals and alkaloids from your body to balance it energetically, and then it's robbing your bones from minerals and calcium that it needs. So when you take it off, it will, your body can receive these things. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. This kind of sounds crazy to me. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. But, like, I'm so desperate. Like, if you asked me to put, like, a carrot on the top of my head and hop around and it would solve everything, I literally would try it. So, and then he did the same thing. He looked at my foot. I'm like, can you actually figure out? I brought these insoles. There's a insole designed specifically for Morton's neuroma. And I said, I'm really worried because I'm like barefoot walker. I'm like, don't want to make my feet weak. And these soles basically they're not like the molded insoles that you get from a foot doctor. Instead, they're just like these little plastic pieces that were put in for the arches and then around the top of the foot and the bottom of the heel, just to kind of add the minimal stability that you need in your feet so that your feet don't pronate, which is what my feet were doing. So I was like, he muscle tested and he's like, yes, this is the configuration that you need. And so I was like, okay. Like I walked out of there just flabbergasted. I had two things my Fitbit was in my pocketbook. I had two
yeah.
supplements and I had a thing of insoles and I just went home. Like, I don't know what the heck just happened to me. I was utterly confused. And then I went home and I thought, I'm going to try it. I mean, the logic to me is sound. So the next morning I woke up at 5 and I hobbled around. I'm like, oh, that didn't even work. And then 9 o'clock I woke up and because I was sleeping in and I woke up and it's the first time my feet didn't feel pain in a month. It, like it was gone. And then I thought, I can't believe this. Of course, I'm going to walk another 5 miles to just see what
Mhm.
happens. Walked another 5 miles, woke up the next morning, nothing happened, felt fine. And I thought, okay, I'm going to walk 10 miles. So yesterday I walked 10 miles, walked 10 miles, woke up at 5 in the morning, my feet hurt, went back to sleep, woke up at 7. My feet were like sore, but like not like they were before. So, and I just finished another 5 miles and my feet, sore, but okay. So it's kind of a miracle. Fitbit, supplements, and insoles. So what did Jessica find out? What did you guys find out?
Well, with Jessica, we learned all sorts of ththings that were slightly out of balance, and definitely some pelvis things going on, some shoulder things going on. But she put in just a little foam pad that's I think 3 millimeters thick under her big toe on each foot, and her knee no longer caves in, and the cracking and crunching that she's had with her joints. We joke because she moves like a ninja, but she could never sneak into the kitchen because she's crack crunch, crack crunch, crack crunch. Since she
Wow.
was a kid, all the cracking and crunching is gone,
Wow.
and her
Wait, for how
energy.
long has she been using these insoles?
The crunching stopped that day. That
Wow.
day, it'd been with her whole life.
Wow.
So it was amazingly cool. She's feeling better. We're now doing walks, which are going to turn into within the next few days, probably runs here each
With those
morning
those with those inserts in there.
with those inserts in. In fact, we're probably going to climb a 14,000-foot peak on Sunday for my birthday, is my guess.
Oh, happy
She's like, "Oh,
birthday.
thank you." She's like, "What do you want to do?" And I'm like, I really enjoy my life. I don't need to do anything else. I'm like, I just like, the hiking, the running, the stuff like that. So I'm like, more of that. I don't need
Yeah.
to go do anything fancy, but we'll
Right.
do our first 14,000-foot peak together. My guess is this Sunday. So
Wow.
she's getting her energy levels back. And then for me, it's called an electro block. I call it the zapper. Dr. David Berglund would not like it if I call it that, but the electro block has helped me release adhesions on my patellar on my knee, which were pulling on the patellar tendon from surgery I had all the way back when I was a kid, and so
Interesting.
that's releasing things. My chi is coming back up. I had my fastest run ever since we moved back to Colorado last Thursday, Friday, and then I completely decimated it, shattered all of my records for the last 12 or 15 years on a run 2 days ago, plus a couple amazing
Wow.
cycling rides that are stronger than anything I've had in years, following his work on me as well.
So what's that machine called? So what that machine does is it takes your injured areas like any time that has surgery, healing, or what does it do?
So when you go to an acupuncturist or something, you have your Chinese meridians. These,
Right.
we'll call them magnetic ley lines. That's
Right.
not what they are, but we'll call them magnetic ley lines.
Right.
If you have surgery, you cut through the lines,
Right.
and now the connection is disturbed. So there's
Mm.
no perfect. No, the chi is not flowing
Yeah, like I
properly.
have a C-section. I have a stomach. I actually have a
So
line
this
right
would
across my stomach.
this would probably make a major difference for you. I
Hmm.
mean, because everything is going through your dantian, through your
I know.
center there.
I know.
So, and if that's messed up, I mean, he went back to, I have, I guess, one, two, three, four, five, five large incisions on me and some smaller incisions as well from many orthopedic operations I've had over my lifetime. And he
Yeah.
would muscle test and find that I was weak with them. What it does is it's quasi like e-stem. You put something at the start of the scar, you put something at the end of the scar, and then it has a particular frequency that it basically hammers the scar and tears it apart so that the
Wow.
chi is flowing through there again. And my knee, which went weird this spring and has been for recent years my governor. I can't go any faster than my knee. It is now eased up, relaxed, and I'm able to really start to dig into things and go without it
Wow.
falling apart. So we're working on. I've got two large incisions on my knee. I have obviously all the way up my thighs. I have incisions from my titanium
Right.
and
Oh,
hips.
Michael. Wow. That's like a rebirth.
It is.
Oh
So
my
it's making
God.
a
So,
massive, massive
and this
difference.
thing, what's the machine called again?
Electro block.
Electric
EL.
block.
I'll show it to people, and we don't know if there's any others in existence He's working to get these made again, and so
Okay.
I'm documenting everything that I'm doing with this, and we're going to see how it works. And then he
Wow.
wants me to do a piece that I haven't done yet, which I'm going to do through a company called. I really need to get paid for this stuff. This could be a paid gig.
Exactly. Yeah, this
A
is
company
endorsement.
called Viome, Viome. We're going to do some RNA microbiome testing to
Oh,
find what I'm sensitive to, what I'm not sensitive to, what my gut bacteria is looking like,
wow.
all sorts of things around that. That'll be the next step, but we're going to probably order those tests this weekend. But what an enlightening experience having
Wow.
basically a doctor like yours here and 5 days. What a miracle of the universe in total flow. This came out of nowhere. I mean, he's a dear friend of ours, but the trip came out of nowhere for him to spend this time with us.
Oh, wow.
Jessica's energy has not been great since her two miscarriages this year. It's back way up. Now she's seeing
Wow.
an amazing acupuncturist as well. That's really helping. But it has been so what these doctors do, what your osteopath, Carl Jung, what's his
Young strop.
Jungstrom, what he does and what Dr. David Berglund do is similar to muscle testing that we do when we're working with clients and
Yeah.
finding blocks and things of that sort, is they ask the body,
Hmm.
is this chemical? Is this electrical? Is this a even a
Mm,
past life thing? They're asking all these questions, and the
mm,
body knows all, and it
mm.
tells them, and then they take action accordingly.
Yeah. Yeah. I was actually shocked. The other thing that I learned was, and I'd love to get your opinion. He talks about primitive walking, and he had said that they were watching, like, if you actually look at the African women who like carry like 45 pounds of water on their head, if you look at their walking, they have this cross lateral kind of walking with their hips and their legs, like so it would be like my left shoulder, right leg, and they have this thing going on with their walking, and then their feet walk like tracks like this. And and he was showing me primitive walking as a way of like kind of nomadic cultures, primitive nomadic cultures. If you look at you do a gait analysis, they all have this kind of primitive walking. The cross, I think it's cross lateral is what it's called, or bilateral crossing, and then the feet that kind of like with tracks like this. And you see it like whenever you go to Europe and you see people hiking with the poles, they're kind of like they're doing this kind of thing and they're kind of twisting around. And he was recommending, because he does these adjustments to chiropractic adjustments and they don't stay, primarily because two things. One is people don't breathe correctly. They breathe here versus here. You know, they're not breathing. They breathe vertically versus horizontally. So he was teaching me, I'm not there yet, but new ways of breathing, so that instead of breathing like this, like I'm exaggerating, in which what happens is you put all sorts of pressure on your shoulders and your neck. So if you breathe through your abdomen and your ribs, it just kind of expands everything. So I kind of learned. I'm hopefully in the next 2 weeks I'm going to be practicing this breathing and integrating it. So then I'm walking. I'm walking in this like more efficient way of walking. And this walking, I guess you're trying to expand your spine. And then
Yeah.
when you do this cross lateral thing, it's like it's just juicy goodness for your spine, right? Because it's like moving around. And then the legs, when you move your legs in this way, it actually kind of helps with your hips kind of moving around in some positive way. You probably know what I'm talking about. I
Yeah,
don't.
I read some papers and studies on this a while ago. So when I teach running, I'm teaching that your opposing arm works with your opposing leg,
Yes.
and so the arms go in the direction of travel,
Right.
and they are crossing over the midline, which
Yes.
I used to think about as loading the spine. Your
Yeah.
spine is supposed to be corkscrewing;
Ah.
it's not supposed to be staying straight. And the papers, the studies that I was reading was on myofascial tension and how
Hmm.
our
That's exactly
myofascia,
what he's saying. Yeah.
the fascia is stronger than the muscles. And so moving with the fascia rather than the muscles by continuously corkscrewing the spine one way and the other is extremely beneficial. Now, we don't want to over exaggerate it. And that's the
Yeah.
challenge
Like this
is
is
that
too
you could
much.
you could go crazy by crossing that midline far too much. So I would do it as kind of a gentle thing. There's a runner, Haile Gebrselassie, one of the most famed runners of all time, used to be the world record holder in the marathon and in many other distances. And he'll gently cross the midline, and you'll see him almost do a circle motion with each arm, almost like a boxer, as he is loading the spine, loading the spine
Wow.
as he goes along. So it's really cool to see. And then there was a second component. We had on Wim Hof
Oh
2 days
yeah.
ago,
Yeah.
the Iceman,
Yes.
and we were talking about deep breathing and breathing down into the belly and
Mm-hmm.
how important it is. And I think that's why, I've been joking about going through puberty lately. It seems like this new octave of my voice is really sticking now,
Right.
and that's coming. It's really weird. A little late in the game, I don't know. Which is why this time we'll have no problem getting pregnant. It's about the voice and the fact I've gone through puberty now.
Okay, so what did Wim Hof say about breathing?
Well, yes, that we have. I call it rabbit breathing. In fact, recently I was calling it something else, where we're breathing all in just the
Yeah.
top center of the chest. We're not breathing out. Your lungs go all the way out to your shoulders. They come across the middle. There's all this intercostal action that's going on with rib expansion that's going on. It should be your belly button going out, coming in, going out, coming in, and really filling this giant bell or bellows with air.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about how his methodology of breathing, if you do as simple as 30 really deep, slow breaths, how your metabolism goes up, your immune system goes up, your energy levels go up, your focus goes up, your stamina goes up, and on it goes. And certainly your ability to handle cold and heat, for that matter, go up
Mm-hmm.
because we're not staying in this sympathetic fight or flight response of only breathing up through here.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, we're dropping down. And you can drop down all the time, and it affects every system of your body, and it literally affects everyone around you, too.
So can I watch your video and find out all about how to do the breathing correctly from Wim Hof?
Yes, yes, yes. So that'll be
Okay.
up Monday or Tuesday. We did a lot of hiring this week, which is kind of part of our fun.
Yay.
So we've got somebody on board who is going to try to make. We have an amazing, incredible editor, and he's going to kind of dovetail off of that editor to add some B-roll and make
Oh,
the YouTube
fun.
videos more fun. We have somebody going to be uploading our shows so that I can be diving into more of our programs. But yeah, we'll be out. I think it'll be by the time this airs on audio, my guess is that Wim Hof video will be live. That
Okay,
is
I'll
my
have to watch this. I can't wait to hear him speak
he
because I've never
is
met him.
he is awesome. He is, I'm going to call him high on oxygen. And he is on a mission. So he was the most fasten your seatbelt, hold on guest I have had probably out of anyone.
Whoa.
And my most fun interview, certainly of the summer, if not of the year. Oh my God,
Wow.
was an
Wow.
incredible talking with Wim. It was,
Wow.
and we're two homies. Before NDE number two, I was literally swimming in a 31 or 32 degree. I say 31 because it was coming as a water hole from snowmelt. You saw the snowmelt above on this mountain coming down into this hole that was made out of drops of water coming out of the snow. And I swam down into this water, and it was pristine and silent. And so this stuff, and there's videos of me running in the snow barefoot and stuff, of cranking up the heat with my body and becoming beet red. They talk about in Buddhist terms, there's a type of breathing called tumo from the Tibetan Buddhist. These are techniques I've practiced for a long time. And so we were two homies kind of going back and
Fun.
forth
That's
on this stuff.
exciting. Oh, I can't wait to watch that interview. That's going to be great. Okay, so tell me more about I saw pictures. I finally signed up to Instagram because my son um they promised to post pictures of he's going to pre-orientation outdoor adventure. So they're like pictures will be on Instagram. I'm like, all right, I guess I have to go to Instagram. So I saw your symphony. So you guys went to the symphony. I saw
We
it's on
did.
Instagram.
And I'll let people know because a couple years ago we tried starting up with Instagram and we got locked out of our account. So don't go to Inspire Nation Show on Instagram. You got to go to Inspire Nation Live. That's our
Okay,
one.
got it.
And we're in that middle of that 30-day challenge, and we've been posting every single day.
Okay, cool. So tell me about the symphony. And is that the same thing as Golden Threads?
So we have had such magic over the last few weeks, CJ. It has been dumbfounding is not even enough of a word. I talked about a few months ago, we saw a medium who told me I'm 1 or 2 degrees off. I've got to stop pushing a little bit. I've got to surrender a bit more.
No, I
And
didn't hear this.
oh,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
well, it was actually a very disconcerting meeting. She said that I
But
had
mediums talk to dead people. So what dead person was she talking to?
this medium had all of these guides come up, spirits come up on both sides of me. There were more feminine energy because nothing's masculine or feminine. We're all a combination. More feminine energy was standing a little bit back, I think, on the left side. And on the right side, all of these warriors were coming up
Mm.
with swords, with armor, and just kept pushing forward and kept pushing forward and kept pushing forward and kept pushing forward. And she's like, they won't stop pushing forward. And the message that she had is that I was pushing too hard
Oh.
and needed to back off. And then she went, I think, head, and she's like, maybe you sell your show, maybe you do this, maybe you do that. None of this is feeling right and was actually quite upsetting, but I think it
Yeah.
was her head trying to interpret things.
Right.
But she's like, she used the same language, almost identical to what I use. I talk about how if your gears are 1 degree off in the car, you'll shred all of the teeth out of your transmission.
Hmm.
She said, if you're 1 or 2 degrees off, nothing works right. And she goes, so you're very close, but you're off. I get out of there and I'm pretty upset
Oh,
actually.
yeah. Oh,
And I'm
no.
going, I don't have a freaking clue what to do. Cause she's like, you need to back off. And I'm like, look, I've got a daily show. I understand, but unless I stop the show, I'm not sure what to do.
Right.
I have cut back my interviews for the summer. We have a month where we're going to be working on things and really stepping back, but I'm clueless. So I get out of there and I just go, I surrender. I surrender. You take this God, you take this source, not in an upset way. I'm sounding at that now, but I'm like, I
You
don't know
take
what
this,
to
God.
do. If this is not my show, if this is yours and it's not mine, then I don't know what to do. You take
Right.
this.
Yeah.
We got a call that we didn't even know about until the next day from Unity Radio, and we're going to be Unity Church Radio. We're going to be on Unity Church Radio here coming up in a couple weeks, Inspire Nation
Yay.
show. We
Yay.
got the book deal, which I get signed this weekend, a multi-book deal. Came out
Yay.
of that surrender. 2 days later, we are, quote, late to go to a 4th of July parade. We could be kind of stressed out. I'm like, well, when we get there, we get there. It's all good.
Wait, a 4th of
We
July parade? What?
in Aspen. Jessica and I were taking the
Oh,
tandem
okay.
trying to
Yes, 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 yes.
parade.
Yep, 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 yep.
We get to the parade. I may have mentioned we ran into a woman who owns like 60 different television stations, and who knows what we're
Yes.
going to do with her in the future.
Yes, you told me
And
about
then
that.
ran into a gentleman who runs a symposium called American Renewable Energy Day.
No, cool.
Um, and I call it Air Day, but the correct pronunciation is R Day. You have to pronounce it like a pirate. R
Arr.
Day.
Okay.
And our day has UN dignitaries, UN speakers, some world leaders, and all of these amazing people from across the world who are there not just to help the climate, to work on carbon sink, to work on a new hydrogen-based economy where we're no longer burning fossil fuels, but also about consciousness and
Wow.
about one mind. And indigenous elders from around the world were there as well. Plus, there was like a
Wow.
17-year-old girl, ZA, I think is her name, from New York City, who's leading or helping lead this climate justice march for kids, where they're going to walk out of school on September 20th and walk to the UN and say, guys, you can't keep hosing our planet. This is
Right.
our planet now.
Right.
And met the most amazing people. He invited us to this conference because
Excellent.
we ran into him by a series of coincidences. Basically, we
This
got
is
to the parade
July
late.
4th, right? Okay, got it.
Yep,
Okay.
we got to the parade late. Jessica's blood sugar crashed. Before the parade's over, I had to go find her food. I found her food. I watched the Chevy Volt drive by at the end of the parade. I got thinking, wow, there's all these muscle cars and Ferraris and stuff in the parade, which look cool, but are burning gas and motorcycles. I'm like, we need like a whole electric vehicle troop in this
Yeah.
parade.
Yeah.
I'd never thought about it, but this inkling said, start an electric vehicle club. I don't really want to start an electrical vehicle club, but okay, maybe. So I go up to the guy after I get Jessica her pizza. I go up to the guy, Chip, who has the Chevy Volt, and I talk with him, and he runs this whole conference. And
Wow.
apparently, the idea of starting the electrical car club was something the universe planted in me, so I would go speak with Chip. I
Wow.
spoke with Chip. He invites us to the conference. We met the most incredible people over this 3 day thing,
Oh, so
synchronicity
it's
after
already happened. When did it
it
happen?
happened this past weekend.
Oh my
And it was
God.
a beautiful inflow experience. It was
Mm.
it was basically in Aspen, Snowmass. I'm dumbfounded at how
Oh,
when I first went to the conference, or before the conference, I said they were supposed to reach back out to me. I was supposed to plan out who I wanted to interview.
right.
I didn't do that. I didn't plan any of this. Oh no, I'm going unprepared. And my ego wanted to get the better of me. And I
Right.
said, no, we're just going to completely let go. And whatever happens, happens.
Mm.
Synchronicity after synchronicity, after meeting just the right person, after just the right person, after going one day, coming back to the events and being late, but it turns out they were late too, and that event hasn't taken place yet.
Oof.
Incredible connections, goosebumps the whole time through. And then the
Oh.
conference ends Saturday night, and met just incredible people. Even showing up with Tessie, the yellow Tesla, and having somebody's jaw drop by the front door, and going, oh my God, you've got this, I've got this Tesla here. I've been working with Tony Robbins. I've done this, that, and the other thing. We've got to work together. Just such
Oh,
incredible synchronicities. Sunday morning comes. My ego says, Michael, there's still going to be people there. You could go have some more magic. Why don't you have breakfast with them? Why don't you see who you can meet? That was ego.
yeah.
And I realized that ego was trying to drive this ship, which had been miracles.
Oh, right. Oh, interesting.
So I said, no. I said, look, everything good that's come out of this weekend, and I'll share a couple of them with you in a minute, but everything good has come out of me not driving the ship. I'm not going.
Mm.
I am going to let the magic follow me, whatever that means.
Right.
Well, Jessica and I went to the symphony. You've seen the pictures on
Yes.
Instagram. And on the way to the symphony, we end up, and we had some friends. It was the last symphony of the year, so it was packed for the outdoor seating. We had some friends put down a blanket for us, so saved our space. And we're texting back and forth, and now we're late. We're in Sunday rush hour traffic, which shouldn't
Mm, yeah.
exist in the valley, and we're stuck behind cars. Last minute, we're still late. I take this turn. I go in a back way. We pass this space way far away,
Oh no.
and we keep going. And Jessica's like, "We gotta go." And pretty much as she's saying back, I'm already making a U-turn. I'm going back. I go to this one other space. I say, "It doesn't feel right." And so instead, I turn around and go to this space that's even farther away, that's
Yeah.
not pointed in the right direction. I park there, and up right behind us pulls in a group of people from the R Day
Oh,
Festival.
wow.
And they're like, are you going to the symphony? Can you guide us in? We talked and we made some amazing connections, and it's going to lead, I think Jessica and I are going to spearhead a one world meditation where we're going to contact all of the podcast people from around the world. We're going
How
to contact, we've got over 1,000 guests,
fun.
and we're going to see if we can get millions to meditate at the same time to
Oh,
shift
how
consciousness.
great. Ah, that's fantastic, Michael.
it,
Wow.
it came out of this, and then we met like one of the head of the UN Security Councils, and like
Mm.
he's works with the Nobel Laureate Committee, and he's an extremely spiritual gentleman. He's like showing me his on his phone, because we ended up going to dinner with the organizer of the event
Oh,
because we
great.
just ran into these people, and he's like,
Right.
this is me with the Pope, this is me with this president, with Lech Walesa, with Gorbachev, with this, da, 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 da. And he's like, you want to come stay with us? And
Wow.
all of these synchronicities came out of,
Wow.
you feel it, we need to park there, and you don't think, you just go with
Wow.
the feeling.
Wow. Michael, those are just phenomenal stories.
So
That's
we're gonna,
great.
we're gonna do this. We're gonna have millions
That's great.
meditating at the same time. Can see it now. We got invited to a peace conference next month outside the UN in New York, and we're just going to start pulling in everybody.
Yes, that's fantastic. Oh, I'm so thrilled. Okay, so that's the golden threads, or in the
That's the
symphony of
that's the golden
synchronicity.
threads. That's the
Symphony of
symphony.
synchronicities.
Yes, and that's being late. Being late. There's no such thing as being late.
Mm,
You are exactly where you're supposed to be at just the right moment, as long as you don't clench tight and try to fight against where you are.
mm,
Had I fought against where we are, we wouldn't have doubled back with a parking space. I wouldn't have gone. I would have been like, oh, we're late. We're at this parade. Jessica's blood sugar's low. I'm not going to speak with anybody now. Let's just get
right,
ourselves out of here.
right.
Instead, you open yourself up. And really, we all have this steering mechanism in our heart. You use it incredibly well.
Hmm.
If we can all just feel that tug,
Hmm.
and you've done it,
Hmm.
you've randomly gone up to somebody and go, I don't know why I'm supposed to be speaking with you right now. No, you've done this, CJ.
I know I have. You know I've done that.
That's what I was doing there. I'm like, well, there's an empty seat at at lunchtime, and I go over and sit next to somebody and go, well, you were alone, and I just felt called. So who are you? I'm Michael.
I was just gonna imagine if that's Michael, that is the best story. I'm so thrilled. And I love that it all started with the medium who's like, you're just 1 degree off and just give it up. And then when you gave it up, everything was just like flowing right then and there in this beautiful, beautiful way. And I feel like this whole for me, like this hike has been the same thing. Like I'm wondering, oh gosh, I'm wondering about the barefoot thing. And then the woman that I walk, the primitive walking person's like, oh, I'm a barefoot walker, but here's the thing, like every single question that I've been kind of wondering about, like someone just appears and gives me answers to. It's just,
Road magic.
it
Yes.
has been miraculous, like the amount of just synchronicities, same thing. Um, in this whole planning and organizing of this trip. So it's been kind of crazy good.
Woohoo.
So I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that to hear that you're doing that and that you are experiencing the joys of doing that. Yeah. It's good. And it's not all like sometimes it's poo poo, right? I mean you're you're like rainbows and puppy dogs.
Well, no, it's
And
not just
sometimes
rainbows
it's
and polka
poo
dot.
poo.
It's confusion. It's the blender. It's feeling at times stuck in traffic. Last symphony, it's starting. We're not there. If you hold grip onto that steering wheel, it will feel awful. If instead you go, I guess exactly where I'm supposed to be means I'm supposed to be stuck in traffic right now.
Right. That's
So
great.
I prayed in 2006, I prayed for safety and guidance for my upcoming skate across the country, this world
Mhm.
record skate to help people with learning disabilities.
Mhm.
Got out of the water, laced up my skates, rounded a bend, and a father's teaching a baby how to walk, stepped out in front of me, threw myself back to avoid the baby, exploded bones, near death experience, laying completely broken, shattered quite literally on the trail.
Mm.
And I was exactly where I was supposed to be.
Yeah. I
Who
mean, you
knows?
would not
Maybe
be
if
the
I,
same person if you didn't have those near death
yeah.
experiences.
And maybe I had prayed for safety and guidance, and people might go, you prayed for safety and guidance, and then you were broken. Well, A, that was a hell of a lot of guidance. B, I didn't do the skate. Maybe I would have ended up in the hood as a hood ornament of a vehicle.
Right.
Much, much better than I was given a second opportunity. You never know. So if you choose your outcome, in fact, we had an amazing guest on earlier today, and I want to see if I can pull up his note here for 1 second. He had the most incredible formula, and I definitely recommend having this guest on the show. Hold on here.
Is that achuar? Is that what the achuar is?
Achuar. No, that's different. This was Stephen G. Post.
Okay.
He has an amazing book, God and Love on Route 80. He's a
Okay.
phenomenal instrument of one mind in the vein of Larry Dossey, and I can't recommend having him on enough.
Okay,
And he
cool.
has a formula. And his formula, so I'm not going to take any credit for this. This is Stephen G. Post formula, and go and get his book, God and Love on Route 80.
Okay.
His formula is E plus R equals O. In other words, he says, he says, follow the positive golden rule, and chances are you're going to have a positive golden outcome. However, when bad things do happen, turn them into positives because events E plus reaction R equals outcome.
Mm-hmm.
So you find yourself broken on the trail and you can go, poor me, woe is me.
Right.
That's events. But if your reaction is, my God, something incredible can come out of it, then my God, something incredible will come out of it. That is reaction equals outcome.
Hmm.
Event plus reaction equals outcome. And I can't speak strongly enough to it that if you believe something positive will come out of it and you want something positive to come out of it, then I believe every single time it will because you are open. That's what we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about today. Not closing your fist to the universe and putting yourself in a victim role, but going, all right, as I got out of the medium's place, you're going to have to drive this damn ship. And
I love that. Well, it's I the thing that's so when I was going to Johns Hopkins, the thing that was so incredible is it has um, a huge population of Asian, Eurasian, Indian, Indonesian, people of color. Um, and I was always raised when I was in Connecticut and New Jersey and now here in Seattle as being my minority. Like there are very few. I was like one of like three Asian kids in my whole entire high school. And then in college, there was probably like three other Asians in my freshman class. And at Microsoft, there were not many Asians when I was there. That's changed, right? All this has changed all over the place. But I've always been in the minority. And our kids here in Seattle, Seattle is extremely white, extremely, extremely white, at least in the neighborhoods that we live in. And like my son in the school that he goes to, there may be like two other Asian kids so there's maybe three kids out of 100 that are Asian. And so all of a sudden you go to Johns Hopkins and there's 40% Asian, some form of Asian kids. So 4 out of 10
wow,
kids are going to be Asian. And the minority were white kids. It was like maybe
wow,
12% white kids, and I can't remember what the other percentage is, whatever percent Hispanics, and whatever. Um, but I was just shocked, mostly because I thought, wow, and I thought I've never been with so many Asians in one place. In fact, I don't even know what to do. If like when I've been with groups of Asians, I'm like all like not sure what to do because most of my friends are white.
yep.
They're not Asians, and I thought, wow. So talk about event. So here is Caden in a place where he is not, my youngest son has not been exposed to being in a world where he is actually the majority minority. You know what I mean? Like, what is that going to be like for him? Like, I have no idea. And his roommate is not African American, he's African. He's from Baltimore, but I think his family is originally from Africa. So he's going to have an
Wow.
African roommate. He's surrounded by Asian people. I don't think he's had, I mean, just because in his class, there's maybe like one African American girl. So I don't think he's ever had an African American friend. I mean, it's just, I know it sounds crazy, but like, this is just going to be like event,
Mhm.
reaction, and outcome. Like, I am just, I've never seen so much diversity. And I've never been in a case where, except when I'm in China or Japan or wherever, where I've been the majority. So it's going to be so fascinating to see. And kudos to Johns Hopkins to have like the most diverse class that I've ever seen, ever. And I think this is the world to come. I mean, it's just the world is becoming more and more diverse, and I just saw it when we went to Johns Hopkins. It was fascinating. It was really exciting to see such a diverse community, and I can't even think about the opportunities that that's going to give my son to learn about different people, different perspectives, and his own culture, which he
Yeah.
hardly knows anything about. So
Until now.
until now,
And
yeah.
that's also going with flow. I imagine, I'm very curious, did he head this decision or did he heart it? How did he choose John Hopkins?
It was completely random. He like all the other school, we like had this
Yes.
massive plan of like all the like like it was this massive chessboard, and he got into a lot of schools that were good schools, and then I was like, I just kept on saying, I don't know. Just throw Johns Hopkins in there. He's like, I don't know, Mom. I don't even visit that school. It's like the only school we didn't visit that he got into, and we knew nothing about it. We hadn't visited, and it was just a random school because it was a
I'm going to put
medium-sized
that in
school in the
quotes.
city.
Random
Yeah,
in
but
quotes,
it's
because
like
there's like a
oh my
puppet
God,
going
it's
on
like
here,
the
a marionette.
perfect school for him in so many ways. The kids that we saw, the personalities, the kids that we saw were just such nice, normal, simple kids. Not like these kind of like arrogant, like I don't know, this kind of privileged. They're like 15% of the class of 2023 are first generation Americans.
Wow.
15%. That's huge. So it's just like it's like talk about learning about the world. He'll learn more about the world in college probably than he will even traveling around the world. I mean, it's just yeah, it's amazing. I'm so thrilled for him. So it
Woohoo.
is the ERO, right?
It is, and it is stepping back and just this is what I call pulling the golden threads. Is it's much easier to see in reverse that one thing leads to the next, leads to the next, leads to the next. Even my first bike accident at 10 years of age led to the scar that we're talking about here, which has to do with the doctor that you met, which has to do with the doctor. There's so much going on. I call it the ghost in the machine that we don't even realize
Yeah.
is taking place. And there are two methodologies we can go by. We can try to fight things. In fact, when I used to be a pretty decent mountain biker, the only race I won in Europe was actually a mountain bike race. I said there's two ways that you can go down a technical course. You can fight it and be working like the dickens to make your way through the rocks, or you can relax and float it.
Mm,
And float holds on to your energy. You're going to get through, my opinion, safer, easier, and faster while doing less work.
mm,
And he floated. You both floated. I don't know why, but we feel like putting John Hopkins in. You let go. There was no fight.
right.
You felt the pull, and ta-da!
Yeah.
Something even more beautiful than you ever
Yeah,
could
it's
have
the
imagined.
perfect school for him, honestly. Like the kids are so much like him, and it's going to be a great education. Everything, every administrator we met, it just felt like completely the right thing. So I was a happy mama. I think that makes a difference too. When you leave your kid and you're like, this is a good school for him, these are the right people, he's going to meet his people. It just feels calmer, like you feel like you're leaving him with a family member versus like I don't know what it's gonna be like, but here you
I'm
have my kid.
smirking. I'm smirking because I was talking with Jessica about it this morning when I chose the Colorado College. I only applied to three schools, and it broke my mom's heart. I didn't apply to any Ivy League or any
Yeah.
whatever. I applied to CU, Colorado, University of Colorado, DU, University of Denver, and Colorado College. And as I'm leaving, I said I'll go into the most challenging one. Colorado College was by the training center,
Yeah.
which is where I was going to be training anyway, so that made sense. And my mom is saying, "You're ruining your life. You're absolutely ruining your life, and you're killing us."
Wow. Oh
So she
wow.
wasn't being. That must have been actually thinking about it. Must have been really hard on her.
You're ruining your life to go to Colorado College. Wow. Wow. It's
So,
like one of the
but my
most
mom
selective
posted the
colleges
most
now.
amazing thing on Facebook for my birthday yesterday. So, saying how proud she is of me. So apparently, it's all good now. It's all good. Okay. I love you, mom.
Oh, well, have a
I
wonderful
was
and happy
being
birthday.
pulled.
Huh?
I was being pulled. You
Yeah.
have to follow
Well,
that.
I think you're being pulled to Colorado. No surprise. Like, where are you now, Colorado?
Yeah, and I went all around and
Yeah.
back to Colorado.
Yeah. Wow. Is Jessica happy in Colorado? Is she liking it?
Oh, she was the impetus for us moving back when we were in North Carolina, no, New Jersey. She was called to go to a friend's wedding in Fort Collins, and I guess she
Mm.
went there when we were in North Carolina. And I knew the minute that she got the invite for the wedding. I knew we were moving back to Colorado.
Wow.
And she came out here and she's like, we got to move back. That's home. That's where we belong.
Wow. Oh, wow.
So
Wow.
in fact, the land we've been looking at here, what we learned this weekend is um, it's a piece of land that nobody has known what to do with, and we learned about permaculture and tiered, not tiered crops, but growing plants on different tiers, and about planting trees in carbon sinks. And we're going to turn this piece of land that I believe we'll be getting this year. We're going to turn it into something that maybe 10 years from now is like a place people would want to visit to see what you can do with the land and see how you can treat the earth and grow things off of it and be in symbiosis with the earth and actually start to reverse with our own little plot of land, reverse a piece of our climate change by creating a massive carbon sink as well. So this weekend was just magical, filled with possibilities of
Ah, like to see for what you can do with that land. Ah,
yes, yes, yes.
wow. Very exciting. Okay, is this where the achuar comes in?
So this
And
is the achuar.
I
I'm
know
going
I
to
have
give
to
you
go, but
the 10-second version because I've got to go coach right now. I get to go coach. I'm looking forward to it. We, for years, have had a pull to the achuar, which are an indigenous tribe in the rainforest that are actually in the Ecuadorian part of the basically the Brazilian rainforest, and who talk about the dream world being the waking world and the waking world being the dream world. And they
mm,
wake each morning as a village, and they talk first starting with the kids and ask what the dreams were of the evening. And then
mm,
based on the collective dreams of the group, they choose what they're going to do as a tribe for the day. And I
wow.
have wanted to go down there so much. And we ended up, we couldn't find a place to sit for lunch on like Saturday or something. Ended up going outside and sitting on the stairs and meeting a woman by the name of Dr. Anita Sanchez,
Hmm.
who has written a most incredible book on indigenous wisdom and is going to introduce us. She's an indigenous elder herself, is going to introduce us to all of these indigenous elders. And I believe
Wow.
leads trips each year down to the Oshawa.
Oh, yay.
So
Wow. Oh,
another amazing synchronicity, and
wow. You had just, this all happened in 2 weeks, Michael. It's phenomenal.
it has just been a surrender and flow, and don't try to think the ship.
Yeah, I love it. So good.
So
I'm not right there with you as I'm packing, thinking through every single thing I put in my backpack to make it less than 10 pounds. I'm literally weighing things on a scale. And I was like, I think I've bought I probably have bought 15 different shirts, 4 different pairs of shirts and pants. I don't know how many pairs of socks and underwear. Like just making sure that everything in my backpack is going to be working hard. It's the opposite of flow. But I'm
well,
hoping
I
that
I
planning
told you what I
helps.
did. I told you what I did on my bike ride. So your planning will help here. I
Yeah.
started my bike ride across the country, and the first town that I got to, I mailed back some of my possessions. The
Yeah.
next town, I mailed back some more because once you get out there, you find how little you actually
Yeah.
need.
Yeah.
And so I encourage you, particularly on the clothing side of things, you want dry clothing. You don't want to end up moldy in 4 weeks. Is it about 4 weeks you're walking?
Hmm.
So, but I encourage you to not only weigh things, but weigh things with your heart and say, do I absolutely need this?
Yeah. Okay.
Less will definitely be more. And
Yeah.
if there's an emergency, something will find its way to you if you need something you don't
Yeah.
have.
I think that that's a good way. That's the flow way of thinking of it, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it will
Love
find
that.
you. My last thought, I'm out in where was it? The Sierra Nevadas, and I kept getting lost every town that I was going, every city that I was going into. I could handle the straight roads, but as soon as I get into the city, I get lost. And this was 12, 15 years ago. GPS was just coming out, and I was saying, and I had a GPS sponsor that fell through at the last minute. And so
Hmm.
I'm going into towns going, my kingdom for a GPS, my kingdom for a GPS. I end up um, talking with somebody. My knee was hurting. I end up with talking with another cyclist who's like a doctor who says I could look at your knee. And then I met somebody else on the bike path who said, if you want, you can stay at my campground tonight.
Wow.
I didn't go to the doctor's place. What felt right was going to this campground, even though my knee was bothering me. I go to the campground. It's so late at night. I pull in with a cold burrito and sleep holding the burrito like a teddy bear in the tent. I had wobbled past a bear on the way in there. I was so exhausted. I see a bear going through some trash. I look at the bear. I'm like, bear. The bear looks at me in the middle of the night and goes, human, and goes back through the trash. I get in there in the morning. This guy comes up to me and he goes, you got to come down here. You got to come down here quickly. I pack up everything. I get to where there's a bunch of people around a picnic table. And he goes, I bet you could use this. And he hands me a GPS.
What?
It was one of two similar situations. Another one, I got pulled over by State Patrol in Nevada. And the guy says, if you can make it to my place, I've got something for you. And the State Patrol officer gave me a 10-watt headlamp.
Wow.
Being in flow and just feeling. I could have go to the doctor, see what's going on with your knee. You don't want to go to this campground. But why am I feeling pulled to go to the campground? I don't know, but I'm going to go with that pull and see what happens.
Those are two beautiful stories.
It's going to happen.
Wonderful.
It's going to
I think
happen
that
to you
that's the thing.
every
Just be,
day.
just go. I think that that's a perfect way of thinking about it as I launch this trip. Everything is not, I mean, little small things are coming, but like the packing and like the construction of this thing is not in flow. But like when I'm on the trail, be in flow, and all the kind of like miraculous healings and like things that are information that have come to me that are like literally answering questions I've had over the last month, just coming to me out of nowhere. That's in the flow. But anyways, I'm so excited, Michael. This has been a good reminder of being in the flow, which I normally am, but when I get into a planning mindset, that's when it all is like starts, like my ego gets kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Step back, go to that balance point, and then you will be the reason I joked about, and I've really got to run here.
Yeah.
The reason I joked about being more spontaneous is you can probably see it coming. I can see it coming like a Mack truck down the highway. You are going to be challenged with spontaneity more than you can ever imagine in this trip for your highest good and the highest good of all.
Yeah, I know that that's the case too. I'm looking
You'll
forward
do
to
great with it. You'll come back much more flexible.
it. All
Like one of
right.
those, remember those dolls when we were a kid and you would stretch on, whether like Stretch Armstrong or something? You
Yeah.
would pull on the arms of this thing and they would go back. That's how you're going to be that stretchy and resilient when you come back.
Okay, good. I look forward to
It
that.
was Stretch Armstrong.
All
All right.
right.
So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler and
CJ Lube from the Fired Up with CJ show.
saying, be well, have fun. When you feel that tug on your heart, don't think it out. Heart it out or simply step forward into it and see what's there. And above and beyond all else, shine bright.
Woo!
Woohoo!
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. Would love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.